Alright, we're looking at Acts chapter 14 now, and this continues Paul and Barnabas' missionary journey, I guess you might call it. But as they go to different cities, we see sort of different response. As I mentioned before, they would always go to the synagogue, and we see this as they go to Iconium, and they hang out in the synagogue for a little bit. Of course, they face sort of, actually the city actually became divided over the issue, sort of the Jews versus the apostles, the Jews that didn't want to accept this new message of Jesus, versus these apostles that are bringing the good news, the gospel, to them. So that's sort of the typical of what we see when they showed up in cities. Then Paul and Barnabas go out to Lystra, and we actually see something very funny here. The Gentiles, the Greeks, actually start trying to sacrifice to Barnabas and Paul. One reason for this, and this is thought to be a reason, I'll read this. This is from the Archaeological Study Bible. It says, Zeus, the most popular god in Galatia, was regularly linked with Hermes. The response of the Lystrians may be traced to the following legend. Zeus and Hermes once visited the I can't ever say Greek words, but Phrygian hill country disguised as ordinary men. So they might have thought that Paul and Barnabas were these ordinary men disguised as ordinary men, but actually Zeus and Hermes. And they were turned away from 1,000 homes, but finally were welcomed into the humble abode of an elderly couple. The gods turned that house into a temple and destroyed the houses of all who had rejected them. So the reason that these people are bringing sacrifices to these men that are doing these amazing miracles is because they actually thought that Paul and Barnabas were gods, like Greek gods, and they were scared they were going to be destroyed if they rejected them. So in a sense, that's sort of maybe the context that helps us there. We see them at the end of this chapter returning to the cities where they had been and actually preach the gospel and really encouraging those who had believed to stick with the gospel. And finally, they end out their missionary journey by returning to the church and reporting on what they had seen and what had happened. So thus ends Acts 14. And Brian's back here being silly.